Welcome to the iNETrepreneur radio show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNETrepreneur Media Network for magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Well, hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm excited that you're here with us on a Thursday, 2:30, 3:30 Pacific time. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Robert Jones. I am the founder and the chairperson of the iNETrepreneur Network. The iNETrepreneur Network is a complicated network because it's an omni-channel marketing association. And what I mean by omni-channel is we go through the personal, we go through the digital and traditional ways of finding our business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers way that they can get their message heard, and we help them amplify their message to the world. And a few things I just want to talk about. I just want you to, if you can, subscribe to our channel. We're at YouTube, youtube.com/iNETrepreneur Radio. That's youtube.com/iNETrepreneur Radio. Or see us at Facebook. Like us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/iNETrepreneur Radio. And let me tell you something. If that is just too complicated, because sometimes I get confused on how to say the name iNETrepreneur, just reach out to me during this show or find my email on the website and reach out to me, and I'll be sure to send you a link so you'll just save it and you'll never have to worry about trying to spell it ever again. But again, people ask me, what does iNETrepreneur mean? Well, iNETrepreneur it's all about you, the networker, entrepreneur, and it's about all of us collectively raising all of our lights to create more exposure with and for each other. And I'm glad that you're here with us today. I also want to remind everyone that they can go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. That is our quick link. You can get to our academy classes. You can get to our networking meetups. You can get to our meetings and even our summits and radio shows from ntevents.net. We put on over 1,000 meetings and events per year. On today's show is developing purpose and passion with your gifts to create profit. And profit can mean many different things with many different people. And, you know, for the longest of time, I used to try to do everything that would satisfy my mom, that satisfy my dad, but it actually wasn't satisfying me, you know. And I have always been a servant. I've served in the United States Marine Corps. I've served with 2 church missions. And, you know, the iNETrepreneur Network is actually another way that I can serve through business and through personal development with our members. So in our first guest today, I want to bring on right now, our first guest is Mr. Clifford Starks. Hey, Cliff, how are you?
Hey, Robert, I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. I like this because we get to turn the table a little bit, and usually you're always the host of the show, and I get to come on and hang out with you, and we get to have a little bit of fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're also one of our chapter leaders, so this is a great way to kind of turn the tables around, and allow us to get to know you a little bit more. And what I love about you. And we know each other pretty good now, Clifford, is you and I in our lifetimes, in certain ways it seems like just yesterday, but also it seems like it was a lifetime away. Both of us have been professional athletes in our own right. Mine was through, performance running, and yours was through the MMA. And, a lot of people, they look at that and they say, is the physical part of our being, is that where our gifts lie? And, and it's kind of funny, because when I've been asked that question before, and I kind of want to, and I'll go to your background a little bit, but I kind of want to start out this gate and set up the precedents for the show about, honing in your purpose and your passion, utilizing your gifts. But as I look now, especially as I'm older, Cliff, I look at that time frame, when I was an excellent athlete, and I saw how short-lived that was when it came to what I'm looking at as the entirety of my life. And I look back now and I'm not so sure that those were necessarily my gifts. I think my gifts are much greater than just the physical sense of who I was at one time. And I was wondering about your thoughts. Do you feel that same way, or do you feel differently about that?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I actually put a post on my Facebook channel a couple of days ago, and I said, talent wins and talent can be taught.
Let's say it again. Talent wins and talent can be taught.
Talent wins and talent can be taught.
And sometimes, you and I have talked about this before. We talk about heart set, mindset, and skill set, but we also talk about nature, nurture, and your noodle. So if so for me, what does it mean that talent can be taught? Because that's actually kind of a unique statement that I haven't heard very often.
Yeah. I have fun with that statement because I look back at my journey and people see the winners, but they don't see how those winners became. And we use words like, oh, well, they were talented, they were gifted. I was a little short, fat kid, and people don't see that part of my journey. They don't see the kid who mowed lawns every day to try and buy a $500 parrot because his dad wanted to teach him work ethic. They don't see me not having cardio and working my butt off to maintain cardio. They don't see the desire and the want. And so to me, talent isn't, oh, they're talented and this person's talented and this person isn't talented. Talent is a myriad of things. And I look at desire as being the most important talent for an athlete or an entrepreneur. Both
Yeah,
need that desire.
yeah. One of the things that I feel is, desire and passion and even sometimes obsession, a healthy obsession on creating an excellence. I was in a mastermind once, and one of the greatest thinkers that I've ever met was in there. He said, the reason why I win, or the reason why I succeed, is because I know myself best. I know what I do exceedingly well, and I understand what I don't do well at all. Or even if I do it better than the next guy, there's still, the 1% out there that do it so much better than I. And that's how I succeed so fast. I understand myself so well. I can say, I can do this great, and I do this terribly, and I know where to fit people in when needed. And, I love that about it because, for much of my life, going back, I was always one of those nurturers that felt like I had to try to do everything. I wouldn't say I had the affliction, right? The affliction addiction of perfection. I didn't really have that, but I had the affliction addiction of, trying to serve and satisfy everyone. And quite frankly, you can't do it, can you?
No, yeah. And I'm still learning that, to be completely honest with you. It's an ever evolving evolution. And I look at, we're trained to be servants, right? And it's in us, it's in us because we know how good it feels when we show up fully for ourselves and we show up fully for others. We know that feeling, and it's an amazing, amazing feeling. But then we get to a place where we're like, oh wait, was I in no man's land because I was too busy serving everybody else and not filling back into my cup so that I could fill even more into other people's cup.
And so much of the time, I mean, and it's probably even stronger now, when you talk about how when you were younger, you were short and heavy, over,
Mm-hmm.
fluffy, as my wife would call it. She would
Mm-hmm.
never say fat. She always says fluffy. That's her way of getting past
That works
fat.
for me. Short and
That's me.
fluffy.
Fluffy too. And but what's really crazy is when I was a kid, I say I wasn't shy. I was criminally shy. People thought I was mute because I would talk so little, and I had a bad self-reflection. I was also kind of that short, fluffy little kid, and it didn't seem like there was much hope for me. And then I had these two world-class parents. I had my mom, who was a PhD in curriculum instruction, and my dad, who was Mensa, and he was a petroleum engineer. And then here I came along. I was this fat little kid who couldn't talk,
Yeah.
and I always said, I always felt like all the people around me had all the gifts and I didn't have anything. But quite frankly, actually sometimes when you got to work and you got to hustle and you're not given anything, and you have to really dig deep, to start getting ahead and digging yourself out of the hole. I think it creates its own gift in itself. And in a way, like you said, I kind of understand, you and I were teaching ourselves our own talent.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
and and so when I hear that, I'm going to take that from you. I'm going to use that. So I'll give you credit, Cliff. But I like that we because I do believe that perseverance is also a talent.
Yeah.
And it's one that's needed for the entrepreneur. So when you were a kid, what were some of the words and some of the things that you had to overcome? What were some of the epiphany points that said, you know, I may view myself this way and people may see me this way, but what kind of started leading you to a different path in your life? What were some of these, pivot points, so to speak?
Yeah, so I look at life as, how they say going deep into the rabbit hole.
Hmm.
And so deep into the rabbit hole is those disempowering beliefs, and flying into the sky, into the stars, seeing how far you can go. That's empowering. And I realized I had a choice on what I was going to take in. I had a choice on what I wanted to believe. And what you mentioned, talking about knowing your strengths and knowing your weakness, being a realist doesn't mean you're going down into the rabbit hole. Being a realist means you're working and sharpening your strengths, because you don't have 1,000 years to live. If you had 1,000 years to live, then yeah, go at it. Practice as many of your weaknesses as you want. But we're unlimited time. We're unlimited time. And one thing my mom taught me is, if I practice at something long enough, I can get good at it. So knowing that, I'm like, okay, I know I can. If I practice at something long enough, I can get good at it. Why not practice at things that I love doing? And if I don't love
Yeah.
doing it, I'm just not going to practice it.
Right. Yeah. And it's great because I love how people develop, and those who are with them as we grow up certainly have that nurturing effect. I mean, my dad wasn't what I would say a classic nurturer. I'd say he was the classic old school dad, believe me. There wasn't a lot of real tender moments growing up as a kid. But one thing I remember, and it took me a while to understand this, is my dad said, the stove had a burner and it was red hot, and my dad said, why don't you go over there and put your hand on the stove?
Mhm.
And I said, I'm not putting my hand on the stove. He says, why not? Why don't you go put the hand on your stove? You want to learn everything on your own, you want to do it all yourself, go ahead and put your hand on the stove.
Mhm.
And I said, I know if I put my hand on the stove, I know that it's hot and I'll burn myself. And I remember my dad going, exactly. But he told me the same thing. He says, so why do you want to live life and by always putting your hand on the stove when there's already someone out there that's put your hand on the stove and you can learn from them without making the mistake yourself? And
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And when I first heard that, I thought to myself, crazy dad. But you know, as I've grown and I've developed in my journey, and I've kind of looked at my life, and I'm kind of really putting any experience in my life that pulls me forward, I guess. I will always look back to that day and say, my dad was right. That's why people are in our lives, because they've all made mistakes. You've made all the mistakes, so we don't have to do that anymore. I can
Yeah.
learn from you and you can learn from me. And what does that mean? That's what community is, right?
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
and one of the things that I think that you look at is, you know, when I see you work with people, and when I hear you on the show, Cliff, one of the first thing you it seems like you ask is like, when you wake up in the morning, how do you want to see your day, right?
Yeah.
I think that is so important. Why do you ask questions like that? Why do you say, how do you want to see your life? How do you want to see your day? What are you going to learn and do in each moment? Why does that matter so much for you?
because it's always inside of them. It's never in me. My own lessons and my own learning experiences are in me, and their lessons and experiences are in them. And so I have to ask the question, because at one time I wanted to be the teacher and only the teacher. I didn't want to ask the question. I wanted to show the strategy and say, look, I did it. Here's the blueprint. And I realized it doesn't work. And so I go home and I think about my clients a lot. My clients have helped make me who I am today. And I always said, I want to get my percentages higher. I want to get my percentages higher because I want everybody to feel this feeling that I have, this unshakable, unstoppable, I'm going to go take over the world feeling. And I realized, it's all those disempowering beliefs that have been conditioned for years, holding on to everybody else's opinion. And when you ask a person a question, it gives them the opportunity to really say what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my business coaches always said, the way you learn about people is not by giving the answers. The way you learn about people is the way you deliver the question. And I thought, that was really, really astute, because the more that you can deliver the right questions, it helps them to refine and define the path that they need to lead for themselves. Because I don't know what path Clifford Starks is really going to go down, but I can ask him. And every time you give me an answer, I can also self-reflect, and also kind of, it may sharpen me in certain ways. And I think that that's what you do as a competitive edge strategist. You look at all the micro processes, and you question, people very deeply, about, does this put you forward, or does this take you back, or does this, keep you in place? And that's kind of the same thing as an athlete. We're always looking for the edge over our competitors, aren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to go back to what your dad did with you, just giving you something to reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna make the right choice when we really get to see the choices in our own perspective. No one wants to touch his hot stove. Like, people are like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, that doesn't sound fun at all. It's like, well, that's what you're doing when you do this. Oh, holy crap. He's right.
And totally there, and that goes back to asking the question. I mean, if you ask the right question, people they'll derive the right answer. More often than not. I mean, it's not always. And sometimes, that onion layers, and I look at people as nothing but onion layers. You have to keep peeling, and really what you're doing is, you're helping them start whittling away every self-defining moment that takes them from mediocrity to, truly excellence. And that's what I think, a great coach, does, is they help take away those onion layers that keeps them from their success. Already our segment's almost gone by, but tell us a couple of things that you do with some of your clients to help them gain an edge in their life and in their business.
Yeah. So everything really starts with clarity. And clarity is actually very scary to people. Like, when you say, I want this thing, like, I want to help 1 billion people. That's asinine. And I don't always have to know the how, but I have to be really clear on what it is that I want. And so I do my best to get them really clear on what they want, not what everybody else is telling them that they want, because there's all of that noise and that chatter. And it's really, what is it that you want? And then from there, we really, really focus in on actionable exercises that they can do, because just like anything, your mindset, it takes exercises. The heart set, it takes exercise. It doesn't just happen because you thought about it once. It happens from the practices and the principles that we do on a regular basis. And all of a sudden, you become this different thing. And I say, think it, say it, act it. And when you do these exercises, it's okay, think about the exercise first, and then say you're going to do it. Say it. Get that feedback loop working for you. And now it's about acting it. Champions act like champions, and champions know no one's different than them. That's what makes a champion a champion. They're going to put in the reps in other areas people won't put in the reps.
Yeah, and I believe you'll never work on that mindset, and you'll never work on the skill set if you don't have your heart set first. I mean,
Yeah.
it all starts with a defining passion and belief in yourself and what you offer in your own gifts that's going to truly lead you to profit. And that's another thing, as business owners and entrepreneurs, profit's not a bad thing. In my world, I say you have to have not. And entrepreneurs, it's okay to give, help outs. And I think that that's very, very important. But, one of the first people that you ever have to help first is really yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes with your belief system. It comes with where your heart is set, and it certainly comes with how you develop yourself, because people are watching each and every day. And if you do it right, people will also follow as well. Clifford, I have your information going across the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us if there's any other ways that we can find you in the iNETrepreneur community, or on Facebook, or how else can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm also on Facebook Messenger, Instagram as well. And what I would like anybody to do is, if any of this resonates with them, comment "I'm in." That's it. We keep it simple. I'm in. And all I'm in means is you believe in you. Taking the opportunity to believe in yourself and go all in on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things about the iNETrepreneur Academy is, it's like, there's three things that just make life wonderful, especially if you're really truly to find your own, passions and gifts. It's find the right information, be around the right people, and load yourself up on boatloads of inspiration, because that will help you develop those aspirations, right, Cliff?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
well, thank you for being on the show today. And everyone, I want y'all to know Cliff is like my quarterly. I'm always going to bring Cliff on each and every quarter, because I always just like hanging out with him. It's just like we got everything but the burgers, right?
I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Cliff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Well, again, I want to thank Clifford Starks for being on the show today. And, it always reminds me, I know with the show we have an hour format, and each segment is about 16 minutes. And, it goes by so fast, because I think it goes by so fast because we have a passion, Clifford and I, and so does Joanne and Len, who will be on the show as well. All of us have a heart, for serving others. We didn't get into our businesses just to make profits. We got into our businesses collectively because we wanted everyone to profit. And I think that's what Cliff does. Both he and I have always been, much of our life, once we got past our fluffy selves, we had to get past our fluffy selves first, and we became, athletic competitors. And it's always about winning. But the best thing about business is it's about succeeding, because when you succeed with others, you can take as many people with you as you want. And you know what? Instead of standing up on that podium alone, you're getting to stand up on that podium with your friends, your family, and certain your business partners. And my next guest on the show, takes fitness to another level as well. And on my show, I have Joanne Angel BarryColon. Hi, Joanne.
Hello, 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 and how are you, Robert? I am hoping that we could push through this, and I'm going to be on the screen this entire time. How are you?
Hey, I am pushing. I'm doing reps. Here I am. I'm on my side. Clifford's doing reps. Len's doing reps. We're all doing reps to make sure that you stay on this entire time. Now, Joanne, you are like the newest member in the iNETrepreneur Network family, and so I want to go a little bit back here so people get to know the who and the why in you before we get to talk about your what and how, because I think it's really important for all of us to know what resonates with you as a person. And so where were you born? Where did you grow up? And really, who influenced you early on in your life?
Well, I was born in Queens, and I live in Queens. I've been living here for, oh my God, 51 years. And fun story, I was actually born at home. My dad, unexpectedly, surprisingly, delivered me, which was a first time for him. And with that, I think made both of us have an extremely strong, very close bond with one another because of that. There's not too many people in the world that can say that their father literally delivered them, brought them into this world. Most fathers are actually in the delivery room, but not actually the one who's literally right there when baby comes out and he catches the baby. So yeah, so my dad delivered me. And,
so he was one of the world's first mid-husbands instead of midwives, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, do they even have mid-husbands? But maybe they should.
There you go.
Good, yeah. And who inspired me? That's a damn good question. Who inspired me? I guess I have to sit back and give some recognition to two people. One of those people would be my my gym teacher from elementary school, and then of course my dad, because based on what my gym teacher inspired me to do, which was all about fitness, participating in, and which I don't know if they still have, what they call the presidential fitness challenge, where all students were supposed to participate, accomplish a certain amount of push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, etc. And I had come home to want to practice, and every single day my dad supported me in my practicing and actually encouraged me to, practice. And I did really, really well, and realized at that point I had a competitive personality. So it's like, no, I have to do better than so-and-so. And then I also want to give some recognition to my high school weightlifting teacher, whom I wasn't supposed to be in weightlifting in high school because I majored in dance. And when you had a dance major, you didn't have to take gym. But I didn't want to sit in the lunchroom for 4 periods. So I asked the weightlifting teacher if I could join the class, and he gave me a whole list of things that I wasn't going to be able to do as a girl. He's like, well, as long as you're not going to sit on the bench and think you don't have to participate in the gym activities. And I said to him, I promise you, I am not sitting on a bench. I promise you I will be here every day. I promise you I will either be able to stand side by side with the boys in this class, or even better, I will make those boys have to be challenged by me. And that's exactly what I did. I had 100% attendance in my weightlifting class and received 100% on my grade, which was the very first time the gym teacher, the weightlifting teacher, had ever given any student 100 on their grade.
Well, I'm liking that right now. I could, Cliff and I are both smiling on that. Just join the team. I mean, if we're out there and doing dodgeball, I'm picking you. Okay, how's that sound?
Well, it's really funny you should say that. It's really funny you should say that. Do not pick me for dodgeball. Do not pick me.
No.
Do not pick me to play baseball. Do not pick me to play soccer. Do not pick me for any actual sports, unless it involves weights. I am definitely athletic in the weight room, but have absolutely no athletic ability out in the field of different sports. Not me.
So I mean, everything that you talked about involved a ball. So maybe balls just aren't a part of your sporting life. So maybe we'll do a different type of sport. But
yes.
I'm gonna bring up something, and I'm sure you were listening to Clifford a little bit in the prior segment, and I'm gonna string a couple of things together because I think it makes for good conversation. One of the things that Clifford talked about was clarity, and then another word that he brought up was strategy. And so often, and this is what was really, really incredible to me. And now I'm gonna have to get Clifford on the show just to talk about this with him, because here's 2 words that I hear thrown around a lot, and you may as well right now. And if you were to go look and search on it, strategy and clarity for entrepreneurs and business owners seem to be very strong words that we search out. But the thing that I don't see is I don't see very often the word strategy and clarity together. Think about that, because to me, it's like, how do you have any strategy without first establishing any kind of clarity, with the people that you work with? I mean, wouldn't you agree with that statement, Joanne?
Oh, I definitely agree. I definitely believe that in order to have clarity, you need to have a strategy. They go together. Without strategy, there's no clarity. It's not like you get the clarity first and then the strategy. You need a strategy to have the clarity, at least from my point of view.
And what's really interesting about this is it's almost like you need the clarity, with the they go both ways.
Yeah,
They,
yeah, you can go either way. Sure.
because I can help you work on strategy, right? But you need to provide me clarity to help you get to the strategy so we can plan. But on the inverse, right? I have to have a certain amount of, I have to, mine out of my potential business partner or my client a certain amount of clarity so I can work with them on a strategy. And I think it almost is an exercise in itself. And, maybe Len and I will talk about this a little bit is, how do you find clarity in your strategy? And how do you derive, strategy out of your clarity? And, because those are two words that are so powerful right now, but I don't really see them go hand in hand. Now I'm going to go a different direction right here. Joanne, you and I have known each other a little bit, and you have, many gifts in my book. You have a gym, you're spiritual, you're able to use your intuition to be able to drive your results, but one of the things that I don't know yet is, like, of all the gifts you have, do you have a dominant gift that defines you?
Do I have a dominant gift that defines me? That's a really good question. I would probably say my gift of being an intuitive healer. And what that actually means is that intuitively using my intuition to connect with energy with people. So when I have the opportunity, whether it's in person or like what we're doing here, or even on the phone, connecting with the person's energy and taking it from there. So as soon as I connect with their energy, whether it's in reference to feeling the energy or hearing the energy or just seeing how they sit or stand, that itself helps me to determine what that person is feeling, how that person is feeling, for that matter, if they're having a good day, if they're having a bad day, if they're pretending to the world that, oh, everything is peachy keen, but in their head they're like, so I can feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that energy extends from you as far as you allow it as well. And some people call it the it factor. I've been to many networking meetings. I've been to different events, and there always seems to be a few people in the room that seem to attract without effort. You see it all the time, and what is it that's creating this magnetism that has people lining up to shake the hand, to give the hug, to create that connection. And I think there's a certain amount of dynamic energy that extends from a person's gi, so to speak, that draws them in. And being an energy person, is it's great to have gifts, and I wish we'd have gotten to talk a little bit about in the first beginning. But the thing is if your gifts are in a shoebox in a closet at the house, you're not really going to profit as an entrepreneur from it. You have to be able to get out there and be out there to actually, let your gifts be a part of the world and not apart from the world. How do you coach people along to get them to express their gifts energetically?
Well, I think right now, thanks to the pandemic, it is becoming a little easier, because I think many people who've had a chance to be still over the last, 16 months or whatever not, that they've actually become more in tune to their own energy, to their own sensitivities, and becoming aware. Now, for any healer out there, including myself, this is a really prime time for us to help those who either A, haven't really attuned into their energy, or those who have but haven't really used it, and being able to get to the space where, like right now here being on your show, I get to share and explain to people how to actually use their gifts in their business so they can get to that place of expansion in their business with their spiritual gifts. Because we all have spiritual gifts. We all have the ability to either feel someone's energy or sense that someone's going to walk in before they actually walk in. I'm sure you've had experiences where you knew someone was going to call you, or you knew your phone was going to ring, or you said, oh, so-and-so, I'm gonna hear from so-and-so today, and 2 minutes later you hear from so-and-so. And that's all of the gifts that we have. So being able to take those gifts out of the closet and really put them to business use is really the key. And it really starts from, and I think Clifford said this too, it really starts from self, where you have to be willing to align your own energy so you can get grounded first before you start stepping into other people's energy. Because if you're not grounded yourself, getting into other people's energy may be a major distraction because you're distracted. So grounding is a matter of balancing, focusing, and being able to be productive in what it is you want to succeed in. So again, we're going to go back into, I think Clifford said this as well, where visualizing, like being able to see what it is you're going to be doing before you do it. And that's where the clarity comes in and the strategy comes in. Is like knowing that as a business person, you set yourself up for this potential goal of whatever amount of clientele you want to reach for the entire month. And you need a strategy plan in order to meet those new clients. So hypothetically, let's say I want 6 new clients this month. I can write down on paper, I want 6 new clients. But what is my strategy to getting those 6 clients? Then once I have the strategy plan, now what I'm going to do, which is what I teach other businesses to do, is I'm now going to sit quietly and meditate on that strategy plan. Meditate, visualize it happening exactly how my strategy plan looks, and then take an action to match it. And once I've done that, then I've done everything I can do. And now what I do from there is then I use this word, I surrender all of the work that I just did, the putting down the strategy plan, the visualization, gaining the clarity, I surrender it all. And I trust that, and I refer to as universe because it's just easier. The universe will then be aligned, or I'm aligned to what the universe has in store for me. And then those 6 new clients show up. So it's not about how are they coming, when are they coming, and even why. It's a matter of I'm trusting, I've done the strategy, I've done the clarity, I've done the visualization, and now it's a matter of I'm open, I'm in the vibration of receiving, and then they come. And this is what I do when I work with other, whether it's another entrepreneur or it's a client who is an entrepreneur. And this is what I show them. It comes from.
And I want to, kind of jump in here with you on this, because I do believe that there is a harmonization that you need to achieve. And I look at it this way. I love having coaches in my life, but you can't have coaches to the point that you forget self. And that's what I love about Clifford. You have to have self, because like when I was a runner, I mean, I had an endurance coach, I had a sprint coach, I had a start coach, I had a weight training coach. I had, you had coach for all these things. But here's the thing, coaching, like in business, when you leave your coaches, if you don't have a developed sense of self, you're lost. And you actually, and so you have to kind of work on your intuitive self so you don't lose that in addition to the intellectual self, because if you're all intellectual, you lose some of the passion and the edge. But, if you're all intuitive, I think you also lose touch, and so you have to have a sense of both and balance those. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. Going back to what I said originally in reference to before the business entrepreneur can even work with their client, they have to ground themselves. And one of the things that I do when I work with the client is I teach them how to do that process of grounding, because it's not about coming to me every single day to learn how to ground. It's like connecting with self, connecting with your own energy, And once you've connected with your own energy and you can get grounded, then you can have that balance between the spiritual wisdom and the intellectual wisdom, which is really important. And they're really two different things, because the spiritual wisdom is where you connect with the intuition, and the intellectual wisdom is where you connect with the logic, the analytical logic, so, shall we say. And bringing those two together then allows the self to do and be powerful as they can be.
You know, and I have always looked at it this way, and you know, my brain is like, keep it simple, stupid type of thing. And I always felt like, you know, the intuitive means I can vision it, and then the intellectual means I can express it in words, and that's how we kind of balance each other out, because you know, so much of our thinking is not even in a dominant language. It's actually just in visualizations of thoughts and expressions and feelings that, you know, have been stored and archived, but yet never have been expressed, you know. And I love this conversation, because I think sometimes as a business owner, sometimes we spend so much time learning and working on the functional parts of our business, we really tend to stop, or we don't utilize enough, the most important tool of all, and that's the tool of self. It's the most important business tool that you can have. Now, I have your information going across the screen here. You know, here's some ways to get a hold of Joanne. Joanne, tell us some other ways that people may be able to get a hold of you. And, you know, you're a new member in the iNETrepreneur Network, so we hope to see you in some of the chapter meetings as well.
Definitely. Best way, I guess the best way is what's strolling across the screen is the cell phone number, the email address, and you can also find me on Facebook as well. Best way to find that is just type in Wholistic Fitness, and that's with a W, and you'll be able to find me right on Facebook. I'm on there every day, live, and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And if I can just give my own self a shout out, they can also catch me on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on my TV show, which is Joanne's Healing Within TV show.
Well, Joanne, I really appreciate you being on here today and getting to, you know, get to know Clifford. Now, next you'll get to know Len as well. I mean, I appreciate you so much, and our conversations are second to none when we get each other on the phone. And you know what? You know, kind of like a bag of Doritos. Not that either one of us eats them. We'll just have to do this again, because we'll always keep making more, right?
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me. You too.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Again, I want to thank Joanne Angel BarryColon for being on our show today. I've known her a short amount of time, but it seems like, you know, when we get on the phone, I always think I'm going to have a 5 or 10 minute call, and all of a sudden I look at my phone and it's like 55 or 60 minutes later. So, you know, she's definitely one to learn from and one to get to know within the iNETrepreneur community. Next, I have Len DeCarmine. Len DeCarmine is with Extraordinary Being Movement. Len, how are you, sir?
Hey, Robert, I am doing amazing. I'm happy to be here today. So thank you for bringing me on the show.
I am really happy that you're on the show here today. And, you know, I am glad you've been able to get to hear Clifford and get to hear Joanne, you know, two different, but two similar takes on, you know, ways that people can look at their gifts and drive their passions, don't you think?
Oh, of course, of course. You know, they bring up some good points about, you know, clarity. You definitely need to have clarity in your life and your business in order to figure out who you are and where you want to go in life, and then have systems and strategies in place to you know, make it happen.
Yeah, you know, and people ask me in my position, they ask me, what is the formula for success? And you know, I actually tell them this sometimes, and I say it depends on what you want to make.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to make a cake, you know, there's certain ingredients and there's a certain formula to make a cake. You know, if you want to make, you know, St. Louis ribs, you know, there's a certain formula and a certain way of going about business, you know, in that respect. I mean, there is no one way, you know, to achieve the ultimate success for yourself, is there?
No, there really isn't. I usually like to say time plus failure equals clarity, because as you're going through life and understanding your failures, because it takes time to learn who you need to be and who you are, but it takes those failures to really provide you the clarity that you need, so that you can figure out, oh, this is not working, but over here is, and how to go ahead and adjust and make new choices in your life, so that it puts you back on the right path to where you want to be. To me, it really comes down to the choices that you make.
Yeah, and, it comes down to the definitions that you want to create.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of the time, people, we talk words, and and I believe sometimes our words have become so loose and so watered down. We say the words, but we don't even understand the meaning anymore of them, do we?
No, I agree with you. We don't understand the words, the meaningful words, and everybody has their own perspective of what various words mean. So you
Yeah.
really have to understand that person and what that means. I mean, I can say, Robert, I love you, but love can
I
mean
love you,
so
bro.
many
I
things.
love you, man.
That's right. Is it a love friend? Is it intimate love? So love has so many variations and meanings to it. So you really have to connect with the other person and get clarity around, what does that mean to them? What does
Yeah.
that word love mean to them? What does success mean to you? What does failure mean to you? We all have our own perspective. And that's where, also communication breaks down a lot, because we have our meaning, which we assume is the same meaning as the other person, but it's not.
Yeah.
And
Y- you
that's
know,
where that needs to be adjusted.
Well, one of the formulas I use is, to get to success. And
Hmm.
again, that's what's so crazy. If someone asks me what success is, I have a definition. Someone asks you what success is, you have a definition. We
Yeah,
bring Cliff back on, he's going to have a definition.
of
And
course.
here's the thing, it's okay. Loosely speaking, you know, here is the defining thing.
Mm,
When it comes to our definitions, am I giving you, or am I giving Clifford or Joanne a definition that's clear enough for you to understand my meaning?
correct.
And I think that that's like one of the most important things. And so my definition of a success is your passion plus your direction plus your momentum
Hmm.
equals success. But that is a definition or formula, because to me, if you have a passion, and utilizing your gifts, and you start creating momentum, and the right direction, you will hit your targets. you know and that's it. But like I said, that's my formula for success. But again,
Sure.
if I was to ask you what the formula for success is, it may be similar, but certainly different in what it is. So another place that I want to talk about in our conversation is what Cliff brought up as well: sense of self. How
Hmm.
important is that to you when it comes to working with clients that you may have?
Can you repeat that one more time so I'm clear on that?
The sense of self, how
Hmm.
important is it to you when you're working with your clients that they understand sense of self? Is that an important ingredient when you coach clients to their success?
Oh, I definitely agree on that, because you really need to know who you are. A lot of people don't know who they are because they're taking old belief systems that were passed down from generations, values that may not really align with what they truly are, but it's just something that they're so used to that they just apply them, and it really may not be aligning with their life in the way they want to be acting, which then holds them back and creates limiting beliefs that they can't do certain things because of these false values, these false beliefs that were useful at the time of whenever they were needed to be, but today they may not be serving them in the way that they need to be. So you need to really need to get clarity, cleanse yourself and really understand what beliefs and what values you want to put back in, that's going to make you a stronger individual to succeed at life and where you want to go with it.
Yeah, and one thing, going on, speaking about definition is, a lot of times, we talk about limiting beliefs, but let's go a little bit deeper when it comes to limiting beliefs, because it's almost like saying, what's an ARM? What's an arm? Well, it's an arm, or it's an adjustable rate mortgage. It could mean different things. So when we talk about limiting beliefs, I think one of the first place that we need to start when we're talking to entrepreneurs who may hear it but they don't know what it means, that's the voice chatter in your head, right?
Yes.
Tell an entrepreneur who may not know what limiting beliefs are, what does voice chatter look like? What do those limiting beliefs look like in the mind of an entrepreneur's head who is being limited by that voice?
Sure. It's, hey, you're not good enough. Why are you even doing this? Everyone told you can't do it. You're a fool for moving forward. It's those type of doubts that start to creep in, that start limiting your beliefs that you can move forward and be successful. And it really comes down to choosing to control them. And they can be controlled. There's various ways you can do it, from just distracting your mind to go listen to music, to go work out, to write in a journal, to meditate, or to figure out a way on how to, or what I like to do is challenge them. I'll talk back to myself when I say, when I hear that limiting belief creep in saying you're not good enough, I'll say, why am I not good enough? And I'll start questioning that belief. And then I'll start realizing all the things I am good at. And then I'll start listing them off. I also like to do a gratitude list, what I'm grateful for. And I'll start writing that as well. And that starts to banish those voices in my head so that they're not creeping in. So they're not distracting me from my long-term, my short-term and my long-term goals of what I need to do to move forward in life.
Well, because I'm an avid journalist. I like to journal my day. I like to see, kind of like a historical perspective of, my thoughts and feelings in different time frames, and what works and what doesn't work, and what I need to work on, and what I want to keep pursuing. I think journaling is, one of the things. The other things I do, is I get up in the morning to meditate. But, one thing I don't hear enough about is, I kind of developed this patterning as well, called my pick up the phone team. And I think a lot of us sometimes, we don't have to do it all ourselves. Just like I don't have to do the accounting, I don't have to do the marketing, I don't have to do the contracts. Sometimes, it's okay to pick up the team and say, "Hey, Len, I'm just struggling right now, brother. Help me out." And I think it's okay to say, you know what, yeah, you can do everything on your home, but sometimes it's okay to pick up the phone, that pick me up team, and call someone and have them inspire you or get you out of a self-rut. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's always great to have that network, but you want to have like-minded people in that network that understand what it's like being a business owner. Because when you speak to people who don't have that business owner mindset, to them, they can't really relate to your struggle that you're dealing with at times, because they view things differently. So you want to make sure that whoever you have on your team is somebody that understands where you are and has been in your shoes before, so you can have those in-depth conversations that can bring value to your life and to your business.
Yeah, when it comes to you, Len, when you look at your life, you made a big pivot. At one time you were in the real estate environment, you were a realtor, you're a dad, married, kind of going through your life, and you probably you sat up one morning, or maybe it took a few more days than that, and you said, "Hey, I'm living this life, but I'm not utilizing my gifts. I'm not utilizing my passions in the way that defines me, or it manifests the purpose that I want to have in my life and what I want to have for others." What were some of the sacrificing thoughts that you had to do, or that you thought you had, to get in this whole new brave world that you're in now?
For me, especially my transition from real estate into going into coaching, I love serving people, and that's the reason why I got into real estate, because that is my passion, is to serve people, and I love to problem solve. And coaching goes hand in hand, but in real estate, I just didn't feel that that was the avenue that I needed to go to, really, where I felt every morning that I could wake up and be passionate about. Real estate, for those who've been in it, understand it, it's stressful. Even as a buyer or a seller, buying, selling your house, it's stressful. You know, we've all been there before. And as the real estate agent, you're at fault for everything, regardless if it's your fault or not, because they're the person that they see every single day, and you're their go-to person.
I'm telling you, sometimes it's bad being the messenger, isn't it?
It is. And that's why, you know, I realized for many years when I was in real estate that I wanted to transition and get out. Where I want to go, I wasn't sure, but over time and educating myself, I got into various aspects of personal growth and development through learning NLP, hypnosis, and through the years, I just kept taking these little trainings and getting myself certified until I got to the point where, you know what, I was just done with real estate. I was tired of stress. I'm like, I just don't want to sell houses for the rest of my life. It wasn't rewarding. And when I transitioned into going into coaching, it was just a whole new world. I felt this great relief that came over because now I was living my passion. I'm excited every morning to get up, to go and do and serve people, to make those phone calls, to connect with people, to be on shows like this, because it's, to me, it just brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
And if your life isn't bringing you that type of joy, then you need to start reevaluating it, get that clarity, figure out why you're not there, and get the resources that you need. And getting a coach is really the prime thing to do because they will help you discover your passion, your purposes, your big why, and help you develop the systems and the strategies that you need to do to set yourself forward in life. And no matter where you are in life, you can have that passion. So just because you think, you know, you're too old to have it, don't worry. Live the best years of your life having that passion in your heart and in your life, because it will bring you so much joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, don't, if you have a dream and you're not living it, look at some of the people who may even be living your dream, have a conversation with them, because sometimes they'll give you both the light and the dark, and I think sometimes there is still a saying that says the grass is always greener, and sometimes I've seen people, they thought their gift was somewhere else, and quite frankly, it wasn't, and so it goes back to a clarity, it goes back to awareness, and it goes back to how Clifford started the show, a sense of self. And there are coaches out there too who just, singularly just help you on sense of self. Because if you don't have that first, that cornerstone foundation, everything else, I guarantee it, won't work. Len, I'm going to put your banner across the screen. I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. I also want you to tell them about our professional development curriculum that we have on each Friday. I host it. You're the lead instructor. You got a lot of stuff to talk about there right now.
I'm excited to share this. Robert and I have every Friday through the networking group that we are putting on the Professional Development Academy. You get to come on Fridays from 10 to 11 Pacific time or Arizona time, to put it the best way. And you get to learn on how to grow and develop and build systems and strategies in your life so you can become successful and get clarity and be put on the right pathway so you can get what you want out of life, because we all deserve it. We all have the ability to live an extraordinary life and not just live one that's just ordinary. So get out there, attend. It is free for members. And if you would like to come as a guest, you're welcome to come too. We'll even open the doors for you at no cost. So come and join us. Let's find out.
Absolutely. We have this saying, to be a part of the community, you have to have an open door to the community. So yeah, absolutely come join us. And, and the other thing I want to add, Len, is it's interactive. It's engaging. It's fun. It's connecting. I mean, it's everything. And, if you already know who you are, this will just help you get wherever you're going faster. If you're kind of looking for opportunities, it's still a great place to come in there, because we'll help you find those as well. Again, I want to thank you, Len, for being on the show today. And, hey, like I said with Joanne, it's like a bag of Doritos. We'll always make more. So let's do this again. What do you think?
Sounds great. Let's rock and roll. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Lynn. I want to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I just again want to thank all of the guests that have been on the show: Len DeCarmine, Clifford Starks, Joanne BarryColon, or Joanne Angel BarryColon is her full name. Each and every one of them add their own ingredients to the iNETrepreneur Network. I understand that you have places to go and things to do, but you chose this time and place to be with us, and I want to thank you for it. Please come to this network each Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 Pacific time. And whatever time it is in Arizona, I guess same time as the Pacific time, come join us and let's have some fun and learn with each other. Again, I'm Robert Jones. I'm the founder and the chairperson, that's what my wife says, of the iNETrepreneur Network. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
You've been watching the iNETrepreneur Show, a production of the iNETrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.